Riding the wild wave of day 3 here inside the Noman green screen hangar, and on the back of a Texas armadillo, I'm sitting here with none other than the Texas Terror himself, Jason Martin. It's been a long time since I've seen you. It's been the last time we were 2 years since we did SeaGraph. That's right, Anaheim.
Yeah, maybe SeaGraph of what's it? I guess 2013.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years
last
ago.
time that you guys did SeaGraph.
That's right. That was the last time we did that, and I would like to say first and foremost, thank you for being here. Coming all this way. This was a fantastic presentation, fresh off the foothills of another great one. I have to tell you, one after the other, we are blown away with the caliber of artists. The hits keep on coming. This was another example. I want to start off by saying you are currently living in Texas.
Yes, I am. Dallas.
In Dallas, the big.
Out in the country, baby.
Is everything really bigger in Texas?
Yeah, especially the skies, because there's not a lot of hills.
Okay, so this is a man well suited to this environment. You can't really tell from this chair that we're sitting in, but he's a large man, and a larger skill set even than the physical demeanor. I want to say that before we get into living in Texas, this presentation was for me the high watermark of a procedural mastery fused with a real sort of artist's eye for subtlety. Is that something that has been at the root of who you are for as long as you can remember, or is it something you've had to work at?
I don't know. I mean, like...
Hold this a little closer. Sorry.
That's good.
Yeah, there you go.
It's weird. I'm actually... Look, I'm holding the
sweating.
mic.
Yeah, I got the mic.
It's like my ice cream.
You're in charge now.
Yeah, all right, I guess. Okay, yeah, I feel you. Now it's a lot better. I wouldn't say I set out to do any of those things. I am like I'm a technical artist, but I know enough to be dangerous. Like, I'm not a really like behind the scenes kind of stuff. Right. But I do like to think sometimes. I don't think it's really thinking outside the box. It's kind of like the mentality of, and I'm constantly learning new things in every program. I have an intern that just started and be like, hey, you know about this? And I'll be like, wow, hey, I had no clue. That happens all the time. But what I kind of generally like to do is kind of like, if it's one of those situations, to break a little simple analogies, you walk in a room, there's like 10 random objects, and you have to make something, do something out of it. You know, it's, and not saying I'll be successful, but I do kind of get a kick out of like, okay, how could I, utilize these tools here and there? And I think everybody's kind of like that a little bit. I think you could do that with 10 different people and get 10 different options. But I don't set out to be technical. I think, like I said, it's enough to be dangerous, but I do like it when I'm able to use something like the nanomesh stuff I covered that it was a happy accident. Like, I was just trying to make ground, and I was like, what if I use this for skin details? Right. And I'm like, holy cow, this has a lot of possibilities depending on the situation. And it was like just a total happy accident. I didn't set out to do like, hey, we're gonna cover nanomesh. It just kind of evolved into like, this is totally what I should cover, or I don't think I'm too fancy, but I know enough. But I know some other guys out there. I do appreciate being thought about that, where it's, procedural makes other things, because use it if you got it, Right. Anything to get the job done as fast as possible. Doesn't matter what you're using, what it is, it's the end result, just use whatever you can. And you got a toolbox full of different things, you might need a screwdriver, might need a wrench. You can actually sometimes use a screwdriver for a lot more than its intended purpose.
Well, isn't that the truth? Yeah, you ever see a sort of Scorsese film, you might see a screwdriver used in all kinds of ways.
Exactly.
Joe Pesci. Did you get a Snickers bar on the way in? I want to be sure that I'm not in danger here. Only kidding. Awesome. So can we go back then in time? Do you think that that's a byproduct of your beginnings as a modeler, as a sort of, learning in the old school way?
I think
some time ago as a polygon modeler. I
do think so. I always give credit to, I don't know if my father's watching or whatever, my mom and dad.
Well, they'll
they
see
know
it
about
at some point.
Yeah, I'll show it to them sometimes. So this is definitely a shout out to my father. My father grew up as a traditional animator and forced his way in. Like, he was actually, I think, delivered stuff as an odd job to an animation studio in Maryland.
No kidding.
And he basically kind of got his foot in the door and like apprenticed up and did traditional animation and into CG. And I'll never forget it as a kid, like in about 94 or 95 era, my dad would bring home the original first 3D studio, or I was thinking it was 3D studio at the time, DOS, and try to get me into modeling then. Whoa. And I remember had no interest. I just wanted to skateboard and hang out with my friends and like music and all that other stuff, rebellious. So I was like I don't know why I didn't click at the time, but I just never showed.
You were living here in California at the time?
Oh, no, I'm from Maryland.
In Maryland,
I grew up outside of Baltimore. In a suburb
home
country.
Of the Orioles,
yes.
The hated Orioles. The Blue Jays and Orioles were, anyway, that's a whole other can of worms.
And so I had a lot of opportunities with my dad, but not only that, APC shifted from regular animation to computer animation. He did it for a while.
Right.
But to go back on a touchstone is my father has always been like an artist in anything he does, and even outside of computer stuff, he's a craftsman. He built his first house when he was 19 years old.
Oh, geez, okay.
He built our house out in the woods. I
Wow.
wish I could show pictures of it. It's not like
We might be able
crazy.
to add this in.
Yeah, maybe. But it's, my father did all that and surveyed it with a gun scope.
Oh, geez.
And a thing, and and I mean, this is it's a beautiful house. This isn't like, he just made do with what he could do.
Right.
And I feel like maybe I have half that ability. So my father, outside of like those things, was insanely talented.
We have
And,
half those genes, so that's
yeah,
yeah, 50% in already.
And well, my mother's a really amazing illustrator too. So
Okay. So you're the byproduct. Let's stop here for a second and pay these people their ultimate respect. You're a byproduct of two very sort of artistically driven people.
I do believe that, absolutely. Sometimes I think when I see like I'm just gotta say it. Well, sorry.
Oh no, it's okay.
Some
Hey,
water
no
here.
sweat.
When
We're getting wet back here, people. At home, it's gone from PG to rated R in about a moment. I knew that
Just
was
went
going to
really
happen.
good.
Here we go.
I
Really
talked
Tucci
about
and
my
Jason and Martin
thing, I
getting
know,
wet and wild inside the Noman screen hanger.
But yeah, both my parents are incredibly talented. But in fact, sometimes I look back at their older work and it still blows me away at the level of art for that era. There was no internet.
Right.
The internet, in my opinion, progressed art so rapidly. I mean, if you look at like back in the day in the 80s, there's some actually I reference more 80s stuff than ever these days, just because of some of it was so original. And you got to think some of these guys came up, they couldn't research through the internet. A lot of that stuff was just like either eyes or getting it from nature, which is always where it should start. Nothing wrong with getting inspired by random images on the internet. I do what everybody does, but I think it's always important to go to the roots. And a lot of art back then came from that. So I always get really impressed because the only thing they had to do was go to the library or illustration books or something
Look at the
else.
birds, maybe in
Yeah.
the forest. And you grew up in this natural environment. How much
Yeah.
of that has influenced you as an artist, do you think, inside of the veins?
I think a lot. Like when I was younger, I rebelled against it because it was naturally kind of there. But I had to work at it. Like to be quite honest, I always like to say there's some artists that are elite artists that are really good, like maybe the 1%ers that are just so gifted. And we all know somebody like that. Just blows your mind,
That's
and
for sure.
they have to work hard too. Don't get me wrong. They definitely push.
Oh, they lift the weight.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
99% perspiration.
But yeah, a lot of
Clearly.
a lot of it was just blood, sweat, and tears. Like that's just you got to work at your crafts to get there. But yeah,
It's not enough to be good, though. I
yeah.
mean, you have to really sort of sharpen the sword.
but yeah, I got a lot from them. I mean, it was great having them there. They always steered me in the right direction, and
Okay.
they're both great.
Well, that's very nice. What a sweet man. You'd think from the exterior that he's a sort of inner city brawler, but he's first and foremost throwing a nod to his parents. Nice guy. I knew that all along. And this is an often unseen side of you, and so that's very telling that you have. You're saying you're rebelling against that sort of rural experience of growing up.
I think so,
outside
yeah.
of the city, because you seem like a very sort of rooted city guy.
Yeah, well, yeah. When I grew up, I mean,
say that
I say Baltimore because it's a close thing, but we're the suburbs. We're Carroll County. I mean, we're out by farms. I had a house in the woods.
Right.
So growing up there, as a natural kid, you start getting punk rock music and all that sort of stuff, and I'm like, this is country hillbilly stuff. I want to get out of there.
Right.
So then I actually all I wanted to do was get to a city. So in all my travels after living in L.A., Vancouver, Las Vegas, Phoenix, a lot of places. Now I absolutely want the exact opposite of that. Like now I'm about
Same
now
here.
I want to get out farther on the acreage of land with a three-legged dog on my porch and just.
Could I get a lake, please? I'm saying this to the universe. Can I get a lake and he can be my neighbor? We can hang out.
Exactly. I'd love
you
it.
in a canoe and a guitar.
Totally. That's absolutely.
Careful what you wish for. I'm working on it as we speak.
Oh man.
But
Yes,
do you
I
think
love
so?
it.
You're coming full circle now at this particular point. in
I
your
think
life.
so. As I got older, I mean, I like being near a city. I think it's good
Right.
cultural-wise.
Well, you're living in
but,
Dallas now, you said.
So I live on the outskirts of Dallas, but they have everything there that like you can imagine.
Right.
The same thing as it's like living here, but I just live farther out and it's more accessible. It's been really good to me. id Software has been very good to me.
Got a very talented group of people. I want to say
we
hello to
do.
Hugo Martin.
Yes, Hugo. Hey, buddy.
Haven't forgotten about you, pal. I'm winking behind the glasses. Well, and what kind of influence is that? Because for me, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast, living in California, it's sort of informed my narratives visually and mentally in my own space, where I think of this like sort of dried out, baked, sun-drenched, and sort of tarnished landscape. What sort of effect is that having on you living out there in Dallas? Do you find that it's
Well, the
changed
interesting
your perspectives from being a very sort of forest-driven person to being a sort of very
Yeah.
dry kind of place?
I never really thought about that until now. You brought up a really interesting point. Dallas, I mean, there's hills in Texas. Austin's a hilly area, another great city. So I got some friends down there.
There's gold
Austin's
in
awesome.
those hills.
And it's got more hills, Austin does, but Dallas is generally really flat. But the beauty, and it's grown on me a lot. Like I kind of miss the rolling hills of Maryland, but you learn to appreciate each area for their specific things. And what Dallas has that blows my mind is very inspirational. It has the biggest skies you've ever seen because it's very flat and wide open. And man, sometimes I've seen sunsets there that just blow your mind. It's amazing.
I've been to Austin for there was this conference that we were attending one time some years ago, and I thought, oh, I've never seen so much sky in my whole life.
Yes.
I'm from a city, obviously. I mean,
right.
Now
Absolutely.
I live here. This isn't exactly sky central.
Yeah, exactly. We get it when it rains out here.
Yeah,
when it clears away and you see the mountains again.
Somebody comes with the trawl and wipes away the smoke.
It's like a day or two, and then it's
I got
back
a day
to
or two of fresh air, man.
Yeah, I do
Beating
not miss.
up on the
That's
place.
the one thing I don't miss about LA.
Okay, so this is fantastic. We're moving along. I want to talk to you about, because I know that they're going to be in here in a minute waving their fingers behind the camera, and I don't get every day, to talk to you like this. Doom from the inside out and the pressures associated with such a huge return of a major franchise in video game history. Talk about the experience of working on Doom and what your takeaways are from that.
Oh, it's been really great. I expand my skill sets. I get to do a lot more creature stuff. I work with really great guys. Give me a chance to call them out by name.
Please, if you want to.
Our character team over at id, I wouldn't be nothing without those guys. Like they stand me up.
Brian, class act, this guy.
Brian Winia, I can't say any other things. Evgeny Bischoff.
Hey, Brian.
Amazing artist. Denzel O'Neill is brilliant. Love him, Australia. So I got Australian and a German, and then we have an intern, Emmanuel, that's just started too long ago, and he's doing great too. So those guys are a constant inspiration to me there. I'd like to think when we the studio's been going through a phase where it's basically kind of like slowly rebuilt itself.
Right.
And we took our time doing that because we really want to make sure, when you bring people in, and you got to hire a lot of guys, you want to do it right. So it was a little bit of a slow process, but the one thing that these guys are very open-minded and no one has we try to defeat the ego. No one the best idea wins, but it's supportive in a way. So in our team at id, what I like is I can come to work. What I like to do is I come to work and I like to go and look at what they're working on. And I like that fear in me. It's oh my God, I got to get my office and bust my ass. I got to catch up. But it's positive. It's not you want that. And I always tell the guys, whoever does something that's next level, that's the bar. I don't say, I might be the lead, but that's not my job.
Right.
Whoever, I'm just a figurehead to the team. I look at we kind of all share the responsibilities in some way. And they're great for picking up the slack. If I'm not there, if I'm busy, they can fill in the gaps, and it's a really good synergy there.
Right.
And I'm so happy to work with those guys in that manner. And I just love going in and seeing something. I'm okay, that's the new standard. You just made something that's it. That's our bar.
How cool is that?
And it's awesome. And I've seen the bar change from random people. It's not always the same guy, and you don't want that. And we have a really good synergy, and it all works really well. So I'm really proud of them. And where the studio in general, where it is now, I'm very fortunate to be a part of it. I'm blessed in that regard totally. They're a great team, great people, great studio. So I look
sweet
forward
guy.
to it.
Yeah, this is a sweet guy. He's always a nice guy. Always calling out the accolades and the contributions of his teammates. It's been the case since I first met you some years ago. I want to dig back deeper with you on a personal note, and I want to talk about. You said that you came from this family of sort of creatives. You're also doing some other things in your free time. I know this because we're Facebook friends, et cetera.
Absolutely.
Tinkering around on your own with building a motorcycle. A lot of people probably don't realize that you're engaged in that pursuit. How did this come about? You've always had this thing in you?
Well, here's the interesting thing. I was wanting to. I've been doing CG for so long that I was getting not burned out, but I was I wanted to expand my horizons.
Yeah, tacitly.
That perspective can really give you insight on anything. When you change it up a little bit. So I've always wanted to drive motorcycles, but I'm a daydreamer at heart, and I've always been a little scared of it because I was always afraid if I'd ride, I want to be thinking about work, blah, blah, blah. And when riding motorcycles, it's not really you that you have to worry about. It's other cars you have to be vigilant about
absolutely.
and whatnot. Any motorcycle
I'm of the same ilk. Yeah, I've always wanted to have a bike, but I just not in this damn town. Forget about it.
But exactly. So I generally I was I'm going to get a motorcycle, pay attention to what I'm doing. And I actually like being on off-road. I mean, my motorcycles are hardtails, so I like to they're called basically, the terminology is blue-collar hardtail bikes. They're not expensive. They're actually, so I bought an older bike, and then I bought a Yamaha.
The Harley Davidson hardtail is the one you're talking about?
Oh, no. My bikes are way cheaper than that. They're old Yamahas. They're chopped down. They're not choppers, but they're basically bobbers. And I bought two bikes.
Right.
And then the guy that I bought one off of, I just was like, I started tinkering around with them, and I'm like, I just want to do it. So I basically bought an old 82 Yamaha XX650. It was really chewed up, and I basically taught myself, went over to this guy. He kind of showed me some stuff with welding, so I taught myself welding over the winter. I wouldn't say taught. I would be a novice still at welding. My older brother is an amazing welder. I mean, showed me some tips one for Christmas, and I realized how little I actually know.
Okay, here we go.
So
careful with those money makers,
yeah,
man.
exactly.
Just be careful with those mitts.
So it's just trial by fire. I break stuff all the time and do it wrong, but it's like that's the only way to learn. Honestly, same thing with anything to do with CG. You just go until you break it. Like, don't be scared. It's just CG. It'll, yes, we got saved features. It kind of all applies. So I've been having fun. This summer we've been really busy with work, so I haven't had any chance to mess with it. But hopefully, when we get through our crunch and everything, like this winter coming up, I'll be back in there. And it's a good time to do that anyway, because in the summer you want to be riding anyhow.
That's right.
But instead of, that's the wet driving weather. So in the winter, hopefully I'll get back to actually. And we just moved to a new house, so I got to set up the garage and all that. So
Yeah, you got
I
your
look
space.
forward to it, and I definitely like spreading my horizon. The welding thing's been really cool. Like I said, I still don't really know all I'm doing, but it's just fun just being able to forge stuff out of metal and grinding it down. It's like sculpting with metal, really.
Yeah, something visceral about that. I was going to ask you. That was the next qualitative question was going to come in that regard. Do you feel that you might find yourself doing some metal fabrication and sculpture?
I do. I've been thinking about that a lot.
Okay,
And
from the inside line, ladies and gentlemen. Huh?
I've been thinking about there's some really cool stuff you can do with faceting.
Yeah.
I've thought about making simple things in ZBrush and converting wireframe to something and just to do faceted sculptures. Like even maybe topiaries out of like growing up through like weird shaped like angular stuff. So there's possibilities there. And the cool thing about that stuff is that's that kind of fabrication with metal isn't sustainable on a motorcycle, so they can be kind of crappy welds. You know what I mean? They're not going to be riding it down the road, but when you're on a motorcycle, it's a little bit more critical. But
so you think, because in that regard, the welds would just be like these artistic sort of strokes that you might be able to play with as brush strokes in some ways. It's
possible. The sky's the limit. I mean, that's something I've tooled around with an idea. I just got to find the time. Time is, I got to spend it with the family, and like they suffer a lot. Sometimes I got to work really hard. So Debbie, my wife, and my daughter Scarlett are really very supportive. I have to say that about Debbie. She's been great through my whole dealing with work and any hours and putting up with it. And I try to make it up to the best I can when I have it. But we make time, but I always feel it's the work-life balance. I don't think it's anything we ever master. We just try to deal with it the best we know how. And I think that's the magic. But every year I want to get better at it. That's my goal.
We were talking about that yesterday evening at the after party here on the grounds of the Noman School parking lot. And Jason and I were talking about those moments when your family is sort of, or your kid comes up to you and tugs at your leg.
Yes.
You have these very precious windows of time to sort of spend time with your loved ones. So it's these are words of a master telling you behind the camera at home, wherever you are, that yes, you should work hard on your work, but at the same time, don't forget to be a person.
Absolutely.
And don't forget to be a person who is a friend to someone, or keep a balance, because I think those things allow us to inform our work in different ways. Look at this other side of yourself. This motorcycling stuff is finding its way into perhaps a new avenue for you as an artist.
Absolutely.
In your personal time as well.
And I'd like to blend it too. Like I said, there's possibilities with just using ZBrush to create some simple, like designs that are easier.
Just to design them out?
Yeah, you start out small. I notice when I try to learn things, I want to run like instantly, but you can't.
Yeah, same
You're going to just run and fall and fall and fall.
Yeah, exactly.
Might as well just take it slow. I'm sure my dad would get a kick out of that. He loves just being like.
He was saying about my grandmother's been telling me that for a long time, since I was about that big.
My dad uses the analogy all the time of you listen to the old fox.
Yeah, that's right. Take it easy. It's like slowly you'll go far, is the old saying in Italian. But that's a funny thing. You should bring that up. Do you think that you might use the ZBrush in a way to generate those designs from screen to print as a sort of prototype before going into metal?
I would love to. You know what? That's very true. I'd love to get into printing. I know very little bit about it. I've had, I think Fathom printed out my Batman sculpture a while ago, which I have on my desk.
I wanted to mention that Batman sculpture. That was a riff on a Frank Miller Batman mixed in with the Goon.
Yes.
Which was fantastic. This is really another layer of quality that we didn't get to talk about too much, but.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that piece.
Yeah,
I probably put a little bit more Goon in there because it's more Frank Miller, but that's the best Batman there is. We probably don't even want to go into that because I could talk about Frank Miller Batman all day long.
But we could definitely talk about Batman.
They need to just make that movie, period.
Yeah, right, exactly. Now, here's the thing. I wanted to ask you, with regards to motorcycles, they've already given me the spinning finger of death, but I'm going to go over because you were shortchanged on the presentation. So too bad, because it's the LT show back here. I'm in charge now. The only other thing I want to talk to you about, there's a designer out of Azusa, California. His name is Shaniqua Mora, and he designed some really incredible bikes. Have you ever heard of him?
You know what? I don't know if it's the name, or is that the guy that's
Japanese guy.
blending like kind of like Harleys with street bike, kind of like these
He has
weird.
really these very strange things,
Yeah,
salt flats type
yes,
things.
they're just
We can
super
go look at
weird.
it afterward
Yeah,
if you want, off camera.
I know. That's actually a trend I've noticed in Japan right now, where they're mixing like these really weird like Harley shapes with sport bikes, almost
Yeah.
like it's just off the wall. It's
All
like
the rules are out the window.
They've made some crazy. I've seen
Yeah.
them turn motorcycles into just the craziest things, man. It's
Yeah.
really impressive. It's a whole next level design
art
thing.
form.
Yeah,
Yeah, his bikes
It's
are
like
really
like
expensive.
up the chain, but yeah, it's totally fresh. Like really blown away design wise, and like I think that's how you win, right? When you kind of like knock people out of their seat, come at a different angle like
It's an
that.
underlying theme, though, over the course of the last couple of days has been is that there are these prescribed meanings and maybe definitions for things that we're shattering every day, and I think that you are another testament to that. Last and not least, any aspirations or future endeavors that you would like to mention at all, other than spending time with family and making more
I
bikes?
just spending my time with family and delivering the best possible Doom game I can to the fans, and just not disappointing them, and just they'll help and stay with the studio and
Cool.
just make it a better place. It means good now, but like that and the family.
Okay.
More family. Well, work. If I could say anything, work-life balance. I know it's lame, but it's true.
No, it's a fine point to be
I
made.
got to figure that one out. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So you know what I mean. We're not like in our late 20s.
Famous last words. Well, on behalf of Jason Martin and the entire ID family from afar, we're going to ride into the sunset together right now. Over to you, Paul. I'm Louis Tucci, and we'll see you in a couple moments. Back to the mainstream.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
It was awesome, man. Appreciate it.